So I dropped from 88 kilos down to my lowest ever weigh-in, which was last week, incidentally, of 69.8 kilos. We're now in the 60s because I keep just getting a little bit leaner on this incredible lifestyle with each passing month. This is all without, of course, animal products. Zero meat, dairy, eggs, fish, honey. What else? I don't know. Literally animal products. It was a shift in my life 11 years ago that I absolutely did not see coming at the time. But most importantly, by the way, that's over a 30-pound weight loss for my friends across the pond. Most importantly, I've actually kept that weight off. Like I say, I'm actually still losing weight. So in this video, I want to share with you 10 of my biggest steps, lessons, insights, reflections now after over a decade living this lifestyle and controlling my weight successfully. Step number one, I stopped worrying so much about the bloody protein and started thinking more and more about the calories. Yes, of course, protein matters. Protein is really important. Let's get that obvious disclaimer out of the way. We don't always need to say that. But I was going mental with this before. If you're new to my stuff, I was from that very classic sort of gym bro background, whey protein shakes, protein, 3 chicken breasts a day, tuna straight from the can. Literally, yes, that happened. Eggs for breakfast. Like, I was the protein dude meme. I really was. And I was absolutely prescribed to the idea of a pound of protein per pound of body weight per day. So heaviest weighing 88 kilos, you crunch the numbers. That's nearly 200 grams of protein a day, which I now look back on and think, well, that's utterly absurd. That's well beyond the necessary ceiling for muscle growth and repair. And the reason why this is problematic from a weight loss perspective, like this is aside from the ethical argument, this is aside from even the wider health argument about saturated fats, many hormones like estrogen, growth hormone that you'll find in our animal products. Even all of that aside, the problem here from a very strictly weight loss POV, to keep my protein that high, but not overeat calories, therefore gain weight, it meant that I had to siphon an awful lot of calories away from carbohydrates and fat. This was the last thing from a balanced diet, macronutrient-wise. Now, I would say getting out of that protein mythos, the protein obsession, I think it's kind of a prerequisite to going vegan. I think you don't go vegan if you're still really attached to the whole protein shtick. You have to either not care that much about it or just, again, understand the nuance that, like, meat doesn't have a monopoly on protein intake anyway, and actually, do we need as much as the gym bros are telling us that we actually need? So letting meat go, this was massive for me. And understanding that, and I did know this before, obviously, this wasn't like a new insight, but really now focusing on, well, it's calories that dictate the fat loss success, and perhaps I can actually keep my calories better in check if I just give myself permission to eat a little less protein. Step number two, and I actually think this one was really crucial in that first sort of 10-pound loss in what was only about 3 or 4 weeks of going plant-based back in 2015. This was a massive contributor. I ate far more fruit than most people actually think is sensible. Now, this was easy for me because I love fruit anyway, so I didn't really need to get permission to learn about fruit. But when I first discovered this way of eating, in the corners of social media, certainly YouTube, health and fitness YouTube, little vegan nutrition corner of health and fitness YouTube started blowing up in about 2015. And I was watching lots of the high carbers, the raw fruit-minded individuals that I don't agree with, and I never did agree with 100% on anyway, their particular philosophy, but I thought they were a really fascinating case study. I was watching these guys eat 10 servings of fruit, maybe more per day. Never mind that, 10 servings of fruit sometimes in a single smoothie meal. And while I never took things that far, I absolutely gave myself permission and encouragement to eat 5 to 6 servings of fresh fruit per day. And I've stuck with that now roughly for a decade, and this was a subtle increase from maybe the 1, 2, 3 pieces of fruit I was eating a day before. Like I said, always love fruit, but just bumping it up slightly, channeling that sweet tooth into healthy, low-calorie density fruits. The volume that fruit provides per calorie as well. This being really good for helping me stay full while keeping the calories in check. This absolutely was a secret weapon for weight loss. Step number 3, calcium is so much easier than expected on this lifestyle. I don't know why, but I had a massive fear about the calcium. I got my head around the protein thing eventually. The B12 stuff, there's a lot of fear-mongering, scaremongering. I'm not going to say completely unnecessary so with the B12. But with the calcium, that was, for some reason, I was under the illusion that dairy has a monopoly on calcium. Ludicrous. It showed how little I actually knew about nutrition whilst thinking I knew loads about nutrition, the arrogance before. But calcium, yeah, so easy. It's fortified in so many things like tofu, like plant milks. It's kind of like B12, right? It's inserted, and I'm fine with fortification, by the way. Some people make the argument about absorption with it. I'm totally fine with it. Like B12, like nutritional yeast, etc., cereals. Like you can find calcium fortified in so many different things. That's without even mentioning the whole food sources of calcium calcium anyway. Now, is there an argument for supplementation? Maybe. I think it's relative to the individual, isn't it? All I'll say is I have no problem hitting RDAs without that much consideration over calcium, let alone going to a calcium supplement, but maybe something that just get like a multivitamin that has, they often do, maybe already covers 20% of your recommended daily intake. Maybe that's just a little insurance policy for you that you might consider. I personally don't find it necessary. Of course, it's hyper-specific to your diet, like it depends what food you eat. If you don't eat many calcium-rich foods, then there's a greater argument for supplementation. I'm not saying anything profound here, I suppose this is really obvious stuff, but yeah, this was a big barrier for me, and why I don't talk about it all that much now, it might be the first time you've heard me actually speak about calcium in a YouTube video, it's because, I just realized, I'm so nonchalant about it, I just realized a couple of months in, oh, this is a breeze, this is genuinely no issue. Step number 4, forgive me for inserting the obvious, because I'm always talking about this one, but how could I make a 10 steps to video? How could I talk about the top 10 things that were absolutely critical to my weight loss over these years without mentioning this absolute bedrock of my progress? Spit it out, Ryan. It's fiber, right? Like the fruit, fiber has been ever present. It's been a cheat code because it's so amazing for helping you stay fuller for longer. The association between high fiber foods and caloric density as well is amazing. In other words, lots of high fiber foods, there are exceptions, of course, like nuts and seeds, but generally speaking, if a food is high in fiber, it means that it's probably got quite a low caloric density. That little teamwork, low calories, high fiber, keeping you fuller for longer for fewer calories, this is a godsend. Now, of course, you could get lots of fiber on an omnivorous diet, but I wasn't. So I'm the first to say, look, I was doing the whole omnivorous thing really badly, really unhealthily anyway, and by increasing fiber, yes, that would have been a more sensible choice at that time. I'm glad I've gone the full way, but do you know what I mean? That would have been a really sensible choice at the time. So I can't say plant-based diets have a monopoly on fiber, but just naturally switching from chicken breast to black beans, my fiber goes up. And now, for the best part of 10 years, eating 50 to 60 grams of fiber per day. Yes, how could I make a video like this, giving my top 10 tips? This is a top 3. This is a top 2 to 3. The fiber has been absolutely critical to me gladly spending lots of time over these years in a calorie deficit and in not feeling all that brutal like dieting. Step number 5, when I went plant-based, I finally discovered the wonders of volume eating. And again, like with the fiber, this is not to say that a plant-based diet somehow has a monopoly on volume eating. In fact, volume eating transcends the popularity of vegan nutrition. It really does. This is a battle-proven, time-tested principle of weight loss that's been talked about in weight loss literature and certainly online circles for the best part of 30 years now. So people know about volume eating across the diet spectrum. I think it's an amazing tool for weight loss, maximizing the volume while minimizing calories. Again, like with the fiber, makes a calorie deficit so much more enjoyable, easy, sustainable. But for me, it was I accidentally discovered it by going plant-based. That addition of loads of, like I said earlier, fruit, but then also more veggies to my diet, and really understanding calorie density with that, and how there are so many high volume foods that allow you to eat what feels psychologically, physiologically like such a big portion. But actually, when you add up the calories, it's less calories than a tiny little chocolate bar. To this day, this is why I love my Slim and Sustain big bowls. I love the big salads. I love potatoes as a primary carbohydrate source because amazing for volume eating. I love vegetables, especially the non-starchy vegetables. Shout out mushrooms as well. Low calorie fruits, already mentioned, but particularly things like berries and citrus fruits. Melon this time of year, watermelon, unbelievable. 10 ounces of watermelon, just 100, whatever it is, 110, 120, 130. I'm in the ballpark, hopefully, calories there. And step number 6, like the volume eating, this is another one that, to be honest, I can't really credit plant-based with, but it has got so much better progressively while I've been plant-based that I have to mention it in this video. I've stopped basically having cheat days that much. I still have them. I still have my blowouts. I still have my messy moments. I'm still sometimes flexible. I build a treat into my diet very tactically and consider the calories. I like to think I'm really transparent about this. It's a bit arrogant, but I'm so transparent, man. But I like to think I do document this stuff pretty widely here. I'm still not perfect with this, but the amount of cheat days that I have, even versus 5 or 6 years ago when I was, maybe 10 pounds heavier than I am now, it's so much less. And it's also the severity of the cheat day as well, whereas years ago my cheat days were 6,000 calories. Now they might be 3,500 calories. Don't know if I can even call 3,000 calories a cheat day because that's kind of only just above my sort of maintenance calorie level. But you get the point, the severity of the cheating, quote unquote, and the big blowouts and the big calorie spikes has really decreased. I think this is something a lot of people underestimate, is they're thinking, oh, the cheat days that I have, these blowouts that I have, as a ratio, they're much less than the good days I'm having, so they can't really be that disruptive in my progress, right? Depends how bad the cheat day is, mate, bluntly put, and my cheat days were really bad. A couple of almond croissants and you fly a bit of ice cream and you are 2,000 calories above maintenance. Yeah, that's really possible if you have a bit of that bingey mindset that I absolutely used to and still to a degree do. So yeah, that will absolutely outweigh the rest of the week where you're maybe in a net 2,000 calorie deficit, 1,500 calorie deficit. So the big appetite spikes, but forget the calories for a second, it's also the behavioral aspect. I found that the less I have cheat days, the less I actually yearn for cheat days, want cheat days, the faster my progress is, because I'm just staying locked in, quote unquote, with my behavior, and I'm not as tempted. The more you flirt with the old unhealthy behavior patterns, the harder it is to quit them, the harder it is to stop yearning after chocolate all the time. Whereas I genuinely don't think about junk food that much anymore. Like, I don't want to cast myself as the perfect person with food, with relationship with food, because I'm not. But yeah, the cheat days are so much lesser. It's so speculative and hypothetical, but based on experience, I think I'm probably 10 to 12 pounds lighter than I was 5 years ago. Mostly because I'm not having cheat days. I don't think there's any other... Look at my videos. There's no other massive change in how I think about food, my nutrition philosophy over these years. I think the big thing is, like, my deviations are just so much less severe now. Step number 7, I learned that healthy fats, quote unquote, still contain an awful lot of calories. And this makes me sound like an absolute plonker. Look, you didn't know that before? I did. I knew an awful lot about macros, as I've probably indicated before going plant-based, but we have to think a lot of my dietary fat back in the day was coming from meat, dairy, eggs, not to mention oil, not to mention junk food. Like, loads of my dietary fat was going from junk food. So basically, it's not that I didn't like avocados, nuts, seeds, etc., before going plant-based, because I did like all those things before, but I wasn't eating them regularly, is basically what I'd say. I went from probably eating about 3 avocados in my entire life before going plant-based to 3 a day. No, 3 a week more like, going plant-based. So basically, I had no clue how many calories were actually in these, what I considered very healthy, whole plant food sources of fat. And so it was the late, great, esteemed Dr. McDougall that I first, I'm paraphrasing, first heard this argument about, you know, fat-rich plant foods, albeit healthy, albeit wonderful source of many nutrients, omegas, for example. These are really, really high in calories. They can be a massive threat from a weight loss perspective. So when I progressively reduced my fat intake even from healthy foods, especially nuts and seeds, especially because I could destroy a packet of cashew nuts. I love my peanut butter. I remember in the early days of going plant-based, even when I was successfully losing weight, I would just go through a tub of like peanut butter in a week or something like that. And just getting those things, like just basically lowering my fat intake is what I'm trying to spit out here. This took my daily calories down by 250, 300 calories pretty automatically, pretty much like that. And again, just helps me keep going down the scale more and more efficiently. Nutritionally, of course, I think the fat-rich foods are really, really important. The nuts, the seeds, the avocados. I want them in my daily diet is what I'm trying to say. But they are so calorific that I'm really now precise, quite militant about measuring them, about not having too many of them in a day. Step number 8, I spoke about calcium earlier on, didn't I? But what about other nutrients and deficiencies? Well, I supplement, to cut to the chase on this, B12, vitamin D with K2 ideally, and omega-3 and EPA, DHA supplement that helps with the ALA. Because even though I eat lots of omega-3 sources, as I've just spoken about on the fat point, love my hemp seeds, love my flax, chia, walnuts, etc., still, just that guarantee with the ALA conversion of a supplement I think is really, really helpful. I do want to say though, I'm under no illusions about this. I never had blood work done prior to making the switch to going plant-based, but with my now far deeper nutrition understanding, I am pretty confident to say I was significantly more deficient and overweight and more likely to be sick than I now am today. And I just think this bizarrely disproportionate overemphasis on vegan deficiencies, be careful about deficiencies when you go vegan. Well, I think it's disproportionate. I think it's overemphasis. I think it's mental. I think it's absolutely mental. To make sure I'm doing okay with this, blood work every 12 months. I'm really transparent about this. I'm more like every 18 months. But if you want really good practice with this for your opening years of going plant-based every 12 months, and I remember having that first blood work done back after going vegan, and like the B12 was through the roof. I was not in a single below healthy range for anything on the whole entire panel. It wasn't an extensive panel though, that first one, I must say, but I wasn't below healthy range for any of the, and just being like, yeah, I was not worried about it anyway, but when I get it back, it is just that little vote of confidence, like, yes, you're doing the right thing, this is not a problem. What about everyone else that's bloody walking around overweight, sick, they're not vegan, they're not plant-based, but they got loads of deficiencies, like just this kind of, again, disproportionate, overemphasized, this whole talk about deficiencies with vegan nutrition. Please excuse me, technical difficulties here, but I think we're good to go now. Step number 9 then, yeah, of course, lo and behold, I discovered plants contain protein too. Now in step number 1, I already covered my shifting emphasis on protein. Yes, I do eat less grams of protein now than I did back in the day, but I don't inherently consider this a weakness or a red flag or a deficiency. But hey, look, I want to cover my favorite plant protein sources here. This was this particular point because I just want to show how easy it is with tofu, my favorite. Beans, my second favorite. Eat the beans daily as well as tofu. Lentils, you know what? I don't eat as much, but the reason this is included on this list is because one of my favorite plant-based meals of all time is my ridiculously simple red lentil dal. TVP is amazing. I've introduced that more into my diet in recent years. It's really cheap. It's ever so versatile. It's also, like seitan, a really lean source of plant protein. By lean, I mean calorie to protein ratio is really fantastic. Again, this is amazing for fat loss, right? Seitan, again, just mentioned, little rarer, a little more expensive for most of us. Very simple solution to this. You just make your own from the wheat gluten itself. Let's also remember, these are just I've just listed the big protein contributors to my diet. I don't eat all of these things daily, also, I want to be clear. But these are the big, over the course of a week, contributors to my protein intake. But I'm also picking up grams of protein here and there from grains, oats, bread, vegetables, fruit, except, well, less so in fruit. But yeah, a couple of grams of protein here and there. And this stacks up too. So I think people, when they think about protein intake, it's easy to get worried because they think, oh, you've gone through that list, Ryan. I'm not eating loads of those things every single day. Yeah, but you'll be surprised. You'll get 10, 15, maybe up to 20 grams of protein a day just from other things that you don't even think of as a protein-rich food. So it's really not hard is what I'm trying to say. If you want my particular video, I've got a really in-depth video on protein recommendations, how to calculate what sort of range of protein you might need. I'll link that down below. And lastly, of course, number 10, I did want to save the best till last. I think this has probably been the #1 hack for my consistency over the years, for losing over 30 pounds on this incredible lifestyle. I literally do not give a damn about how simple, how boring, how unconventional any of my food looks. I don't care what someone else thinks of it. I don't care if someone looks at it and goes, that's a big bowl of slop. I know I post like the nice videos and stuff like that on my Instagram, and in this video I'm sure I'll B-roll some nice footage of meals and whatnot to really sell this lifestyle, and like that is genuine. Like lots of my food does look like that, but sometimes it's just throw it all in a bowl. Sometimes I have a meal where the carb source is rice cakes and it's paired with seitan and some gherkins and some fermented veggies, and like there's a bit of mustard or hot sauce on there, and you just think, is that actually nice? It is to me, and that's all that matters. I think we've gone so nuts with recipeism. I think so many people are stuck in like conventional, traditional cooking thinking where everything needs to be like a recipe, or maybe maybe it's not that, but it's more food perfectionism. Is, oh, I have to have exactly this amount of fat, protein, carbs, micronutrients. What am I going to do for this? Like, I don't mind as long as I'm hitting all my nutrients over the course of the day. Yes, I am a believer in big, satisfying staple meals, but sometimes if I'm just in a rush, I'm running out the door, I'm munching on a bit of fruit, I'm munching on some rice cakes, I'm splitting up a meal into 2 because I've got a meeting between the time I can eat a whole meal, so I've got to split things up. This is such a superpower. This is such a cheat code when it comes to consistency. Just like ultra simple. Like my food, it's ultra simple and it still tastes good to me. That's the thing. And I use like low calorie condiments and sauces and dressings. I love my mustard. I love balsamic vinegar, sometimes a little balsamic glaze. That's not necessarily low calorie, but hot sauces, salsa. So for me, the herbs and spices nutritional yeast is a godsend for me. Like I know vegetable stock cubes save the day. If I don't know exactly what herbs, spice profiles work best with a certain meal, I just throw in half a veggie stock cube, problem solved. Like all of these little hacks over the years, they've allowed me to just keep things so practical and realistic, not set the bar too high for elitism with recipes and food. Look, if you're cooking for kids, I sound a bit scolding, if you're cooking for families and kids, you've got to consider other people's nutritional needs. Yes, I do understand why you're like, I need a proper recipe from a cookbook that I can really trust, and it's just all I've got the structure there on paper, so I'm not not thinking too much. Like, I do understand that, but I just think if you are only cooking for you, or maybe just you and one loved one, who cares what it looks like? As long as it tastes good, who cares if it's slightly unconventional sometimes? Who cares if you can't do a perfect meal sometimes because it's a really busy day, but you just throw something together that actually, nutritionally, is not that bad. And it looks weird, and it's unconventional, and maybe you're having a healthy cereal bowl, or maybe you're having a bowl of oats for dinner. That's weird. Like, I've just never cared about any of this stuff. So that's it. Those are my 10 steps to potentially consider plugging and playing into your plant-based plan. Yes, I do often think about where on earth would I be if I hadn't stumbled across the corners of the internet talking about vegan nutrition all the way back in 2015. Well, I would hazard a guess, still maybe likely starting over and over every single Monday, hopping between diets, more so for me, swinging between the extreme dieting, 1,000-calorie deficits, and then obviously not being able to handle that, and then having these crazy blowouts and binges 2 to 3 times a week. And instead, I'm now really, this is the cheesy cliche part. I am so grateful to have discovered this lifestyle, all the rewards that it's brought me, and to be able to use it to maintain quite easily, I think now, compared to what I was doing before anyway and really struggling with, but easily maintain this weight loss progress now for the best part of over a decade. What am I talking about? In fact, I'm still getting leaner. I'm not just maintaining, I'm still getting leaner quite effortlessly on this lifestyle. No, I say effortlessly, it's not a breeze every day, but this is by far and away the easiest and most sustainable method I've found for long-term weight control. Absolutely love it. So if you are tired of repeating the same cycle I've just described, of restarting every Monday, up and down the scale, yo-yo, etc., and you would like someone to finally help you get this dialed in, check out the coaching link down below, because the time goes like that. These 10, 11 years have gone like that. I'm really grateful for the results I've got, but I literally speak to people here online every single day that have been butting their head against the wall with this for years and years. Let's take action. Coaching link below. Thanks for your time. See you in the next video.